Welcome in to another Targets and Touches edition here, WinDailySports.com. All sponsored by the Sharp app, by the way. Go to sharp.link. All the ways you can download the Sharp app will be right there, whether it's the Google Play Store, Apple App Store. Download the Sharp app. Get some plays for tonight's action. There's some action. There's NBA. There's plenty to bet on, so go to the Sharp app and do that. But today what we're looking at here, Stoweby, as we are joined by Stoweby, of course. Look at those locks. Look at those. Look at the precious hair. I want to start with the team that's in the background there. I see a team in the background of yours. It's a team that I think you enjoy, a team that I think you watch. And, well, they have a little bit of what we call a running back injury, and that seems to be happening. So the Green Bay Packers, how do you think they're going to deal with against the Vikings team? Obviously, not how they're going to deal with it. It's A.J. Dillon, and they're going against the Vikings rush defense that you can run against. Just how many touches and targets are we looking at here for A.J. Dillon?
And that is the thing. They are not shy about giving A.J. Dillon as many carries as he can handle. So I don't care if I know he's priced up to 6K, or 6-1, but he is a damn good back, and I do not care. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's just barely over 6K.
That's it?
That's it against Minnesota. That prop is going to be insane.
Shouldn't it be 7K? Shouldn't that be around? No? 6.6, 7K? I mean, he is. It's not like he's even sharing a backfield now. He is it. That's it. That's all they got is A.J. Dillon. And they're in such a great game environment for him to run all over this defense.
I am looking forward to seeing what this prop ends up being on Sunday. But he's going to be a cat. Unless something dramatic happens, he's going to be a cash game lock for me. I can already tell you that this early in the week.
Yeah, I think so as well. I guess, is he going to be too chalky is the biggest question, right? Is how chalky is he going to be, knowing that that's a little bit of a good price, and I don't even think there's a lot of risk there, to be honest with you. I just who else is going to take it away from him? That's my thing.
LaFleur's not going to be giving it to anybody else, because when Jones
he
got hurt last year and Dillon got the lion's share of the work. It was like a showdown slate towards the end of the season, and Dillon got north of 20 carries, and he was the slate breaker on the evening. I remember that one because it was towards the end of the season. I figured they weren't going to risk injuring Jones, and sure enough, they gave him as much as he could handle, and he's a big old boy. He can handle a heavy workload.
We love those big old boys. Yeah. No, okay. That's where it ended. It's just me screaming out. We love the big old boys.
I just left it a little quiet for you, so somebody
you did make that seem real awkward for me. Thank you. No, I really appreciate that.
Hey, somebody over there at the radio station, clip that and use it for one of your promos, okay?
Please don't. Oh my God. All right, so another one that I want to kind of go for here. Because the running back situations are just getting to be all over the place. And I think one of the ones that we're continuing to have to deal with is the Tennessee Titans. Now, they're in another one that's going up in this really good game script. What have we been seeing here with the targets and the touches in this backfield? It's looking like, to me, D'Onta Foreman might just start taking more of it the further along we go here.
Yeah, that's what I was actually leaning towards, too, because Peterson's carries went down, and he's 36 years old, so I would imagine Foreman is going to get the majority of the work between the 20s. Maybe Peterson gets a little bit of the goal line work, and McNichols will get used in kind of the passing down situations.
Yes, McNichols certainly being used there. I was surprised that they were using Foreman, not much, but even just the little bit that they did, because I thought it was going to be exclusively Jeremy Nichols there. But it looked like D'Onta Foreman was actually getting someone involved in the passing game. So I was a little bit surprised by that. Not surprised, I thought, and the thing is, Peterson still is getting some goal line carries, which just annoys the absolute bleep out of me. It was the same thing last year with Detroit. All those goal line touches just annoyed the crap out of him because he knew he wasn't the best back there. But he kept getting the obviously most important touches in a drive, and that's in the goal line. And it's doing the same thing here, but I guess the question is, how comfortable are you with Deontay Foreman, especially this week? Like, is it still a not even flex play yet? Like, still got to wait on it to happen, or fringe flex play? That's what he would be to me. Like, still, if you're really desperate, he would be a fringe flex play that I'd be all right with, especially now that, there are going to be some that are without Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, and of course, no Darrell Henderson, all are on a bye week. So if you're looking, especially in your season longs for that. But, you know what? For a DFS, though, I don't know. That's definitely a no play for me.
Yeah, I'm not touching it. There's going to be some good options.
Yes, there will be.
It's funny that you mentioned Detroit, because there is a certain third-string running back for Cleveland going against Detroit with every other running back on the COVID-19 list or on IR.
Yeah, is Nick Chubb still going to be on the COVID-19 list?
I'm unsure. I don't know the specifics behind his situation, but
that is something to just monitor, because whoever the lead back is there, just put him in. Because this offensive line is still really good. I know the concerns about Cleveland's offense in general there, but against Detroit, like this offensive line is so good. Whoever the lead back is the guy that I want. And look, it's not that, like, if Nick Chubb is there, Dearness Johnson can still get it. It's all Nick Chubb. Or if it's just there's no Nick Chubb, it's all Dearness Johnson. But to me, taking the lead back and figuring out who that is at the end of the week. What are we looking at here, though? It looks like we're still going to be without Alvin Kamara, and against a really bad Eagles rush defense, who still got gashed by the Denver Broncos. They just didn't really use it as often, and tried to throw Teddy Bridgewater 35 times, which was just a terrible idea because he was horrible. But Mark Ingram, like, what have you seen from him in New Orleans right now? Obviously, I think there's been some good, and he's actually been getting targeted a lot as well. So I've been pretty impressed just how acclimated he is early. And again, no Alvin Kamara. I mean, he's going to get the majority of these, I think, really good carries against the Eagles. And by good carries, I just mean that they're obviously the Eagles' rush defense is very good. So I think you can expect there to be production with these carries as well.
And I feel fine. I used Mark Ingram pretty much everywhere last
week.
Did
you really? Nice.
Yeah. I used him. You always have to worry about Taysom Hill and the whole vulture situation down there. But I've never been as low on Ingram as other people have, because he is a little bit older, but he never had that heavy workload throughout his career that a lot of these running backs have had. He's 32, but he's kind of a fresh 32. He doesn't get all of that, like 25 carries for 300 plus carries on a season. He'll get his right around 150, 200, and that's consistently been his thing. So I don't feel so bad. I think he'll still be fine next week.
Yeah, I think he will be as well. I would actually be looking to get him into my lineups. Mark Ingram, in his last game, 20.8 fantasy points. I think you could actually expect around more or less the same there in production. Does that sound about right? I feel like I would be pretty comfortable thinking that he can get close to 20 again.
Yeah, and if he gets it going earlier on in the game, the thing is he didn't get a whole lot of quality looks until a little bit later on. And he got some volume, but he didn't start breaking free until like the second half of that football game. So if he gets started a little early, you could potentially see another 20-point outing as long as he gets into the end zone.
Is Antonio Gibson back? 24 carries, only 64 yards. Like, it's not like he was extremely productive, but 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, this is probably something they needed to do early on, because Taylor Heineke's not good. He's a backup. He's a backup quarterback, and he looks like one. So I think, obviously, get the run game involved. You have a really good running back in Antonio Gibson. So I just think I'm looking more at – I'm not looking at the 2.67 yards per carry. Obviously, that's not good. I'm more looking at he just had 20 rush attempts for the first time since New Orleans in October. So it's been it's been over a month since he's had 20 carries. And that's what's more notable to me. And I think the correlation there is that Washington looked good. And I think that game against Tampa Bay. So I would actually look, I'd be fine thinking that he can get 20 rush attempts. And look, the 3 times that he's gotten 20 rush attempts this season, he had 20 against the Chargers. He had 90 rushing yards, 12.8 fantasy points. Against the New Orleans Saints, he had 20 rushing attempts, 60 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 21 fantasy points, 24 rush attempts, 64 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Against Tampa Bay last week, 21.8. So he does score fairly well if he's able to get those touches. And I think that Washington's kind of being forced into it a little bit here.
Yeah, and I don't worry about the yards per carry when it comes to Gibson this season, because there's something that he was running with a broken leg.
Yes, he was. It was like a broken foot or something he was coming to the season with, or an ankle, something like that. So, some kind of leg lower body injury.
It was a broken fibula.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. That's.
I had that same injury probably 3 years ago, and they never put me in a cast. It was more of a pain management thing, and it hurts like hell. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So he was dealing with that for like the last month. So, I mean, the guy was probably in a tremendous amount of pain. So
I imagine so. Yeah.
I'm willing to give him a pass right now, and I'm willing to take some shots at him now that he's healthy again.
I know we're going over a lot of running backs, but it's just that I love a lot of these spots for running backs. And Elijah Mitchell has been looking all right. Only 9, fantasy points against the Rams, but it's just the fact that he ran 27 times, and they're up against Jacksonville. This is by far a ground and pound offense. Like, no matter what, this is a ground and pound offense. If Kyle Shanahan has things his way, he would throw Jimmy Garoppolo like 8 to 10 times. But they look good running the ball against the Rams, and Jacksonville's rush defense isn't much better. So I think that you could maybe expect here, I hate to say 27 carries because obviously the game script was good, but I expect the game script to be somewhat good again for Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, I agree. My only concern ever is that it's a Shanahan offense and things can change on a dime.
Yep.
But it's a prime matchup, so I would expect it to be another solid performance. Yes.
No. Yes. What? It's not my favorite spot, Dalvin Cook in Green Bay.
Yeah, the only thing that I would have some concern with is that he could get game scripted out when Green Bay gets ahead if they pour it on. If they get ahead by more than 2 scores, they've had a tendency to abandon the run against Green Bay, and Dalvin Cook ends up being underutilized. But
the Green Bay defense has been good. Like, I'll give them credit. I think Green Bay's defense has actually been solid this season.
They've been okay. But they can still be taken advantage of on the run a little bit. So I'm okay with Dalvin Cook on there. Maybe I would choose to go another direction just based on price and some other stuff that I like more, but he is in the player pool.
Would you drop Schultz for Dawson Knox?
I've been looking at that since he put it up.
My answer is they're the same thing. Guys that are in these big time passing offenses, but just so many mouths to feed. Yeah. And basically, you could pick up Dawson Knox, but the same thing could happen to him. It's what's happening to Schultz right now. The targets go down because they're going elsewhere. Or they're in matchups where they like wide receivers better and don't want to go to Knox. Like, I don't know. The one thing with Schultz is, of course, Michael Gallup is back. So
yeah,
I would honestly, and I know you could probably Dawson Knox. I don't know if he's going to be there next week, so that's the risk you're running here. I would wait one more week with Schultz just to make sure, like, okay, he is phased out if Michael Gallup's there. Because if he's not, there's such a steady target share that he gets, that he was getting, that, I just loved. And I don't know. It's a close one because, again, it's similar situations to me. Similar reasons why you wouldn't like these guys.
I guess the tiebreaker for me I would prefer Schultz, because when it comes time to your playoff time for your fantasy season, you're going to have a tight end that's playing in a dome in Dallas, or you're going to have a tight end that's playing in terrible winter weather in Buffalo that could potentially just deflate the ball and turn into a run only game, toward down the stretch. So that would kind of make me lean towards Schultz. I just like that. Buffalo can be like 0 degrees, 40-mile-an-hour winds and blowing snow, and it'll be week 6, 16, 17, 18 in your playoff.
We're already seeing their neighbors up there in Canada getting a bunch of snow as they're about to take on Mexico today. So, yeah. No, not great. Not great. Let's go over to wide receivers. Anything else with running backs? Because I feel like it seemed like we went over almost half of them, but it was kind of ripe for it because there are a lot of good spots for running backs, I think, on the slate. So let's go over to wide receivers. And honestly, where do you want to start with this one? Because I think for me, it's the ones I want to start with are the ones I'm a little bit concerned about. And that's just and I don't know, maybe it's just 1 week, but the Seattle Seahawks passing game in general, just even with Wilson there, just has not looked right this season.
No, it hasn't. He hasn't been getting a lot of time to throw, and that's, Pete Carroll's fault because he never gets him any offensive linemen. But
yeah,
it was his middle finger, and when he had that surgery, and it was his first game back, so he hasn't really been able to rehab that thing a whole lot as far as throwing the ball. So against that Arizona team, I'd imagine they're going to have to throw it a lot if Kyler Murray is back and playing. And I'm willing to go back to somebody like DK Metcalf if he's trying to get back into the groove of throwing the football. I'd rather go for the bigger target, so I'd rather go Metcalf over Lockett.
Yes, I would rather go Metcalf over Lockett as well. Metcalf's been the more consistent one. Lockett, of course, we know what's happening with Tyler Lockett. But anything else that stood out to you? I think the one thing is Justin Jefferson got more targets than he has the last few weeks. That's something that I know Minnesota was trying to work on, and it seemed like they were able to work it out, at least in terms of target share. So I think I'm feeling more comfortable about that because it's something that they needed to recognize for this to finally get fixed, and it seems like they finally recognized it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why it took him that long, but...
I couldn't tell you. Like, I bleeping couldn't tell you. He literally had a 1 yard, one catch, 50-yard touchdown, like in the first half, and then they just didn't do anything with him. It was in the first quarter. It was like the first few drives of the game. They did it, and they said, yeah, maybe like 2 or 3 more times we're going to go to you because we didn't like that. That wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
What? It honestly blew my mind that that happened. But they were very aware of the mistake and corrected it with 11 targets, and he looked phenomenal.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I think they're going to go to him early and often here on Sunday. There's no question about it. They either need to run Dalvin Cook 25 times a game or they need to target Jefferson 15 times a game. Preferably both, but,
Is Devontae Smith going to be too much of a wide receiver people are looking at this week, or do you still think that it's being kind of underplayed how good he's been the past couple of weeks? Now, the only problem is this game you'll have Marshawn Lattimore, so I know that's going to be a lot of the talk, but even I think they're down their second cornerback. So if Lattimore's not going to shadow him, I wouldn't be too worried, but it's very clear that Devontae Smith, not only the Eagles are trying to get it to him, he's the only one that they can get it to, and he is very good.
Yeah, my only concern is if he does get shadowed by Lattimore.
Yep.
Hurts is not going to be able to throw into small windows. He is very, very inconsistent. So I'm a little bit concerned about that this week.
Yes, I am. Because we were just, again, talking about running backs a lot. So what are the ones? Any ones that really stand out to you this week?
This week, Brandon Cooks against Tennessee is really, really enticing at 6K.
Yeah. Now that Tyrod has a week under his belt too, I just think it's a better spot.
Yeah, I really like that, and to be determined when it comes to D-Hop. I kind of like Christian Kirk a little bit at 5'7", going against that Seattle secondary. That's somebody else that really kind of stands out to me in the event that D-Hop is out. And I always want to go to Marvin Jones, but I don't trust Jacksonville anymore.
Nope, don't trust Jacksonville. Are you sure?
They burn me every time.
Bad.
Every time. They should be better than what they are. Like, they have talented pieces around, but that coaching staff is just so inept. It drives me crazy.
So the highest total on the board is Dallas and Kansas City. I want to say it's the highest total. That was an assumption, but I'm pretty sure I can make that assumption and be pretty.
I think that's safe.
56.5 is the highest total on the board.
And that'll go
Dallas
up.
Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs, and of course, I think it's going to be for the wide receivers. We look at Lamb, we look at Cooper, and we look at Tyreek Hill. But is there any value on the ancillary targets? We saw Byron Pringle get a touchdown, get a little bit more involved. Mecole Hardman still not really, although he had a couple of catches. But Byron Pringle was the one to me that it looked like they were actually trying to get more involved here. And then Michael Gallup, of course, is back. And also there is Dalton Schultz there as well. How are you kind of working in because everybody's going to flock to the top guys. Are you working in any of the ancillary targets, especially wide receiver?
You named the two. I'm not a Mecole Hardman person. It should have happened by now if it was going to happen.
Yeah, it should. I completely agree.
So,
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm done with that. And the two, I've always liked Gallup. I liked Gallup before the season ever started as the third option because he's going to be used a lot deep downfield, and I think they're going to take a whole lot of shots against Kansas City. And Pringle for a cheap one-off, just kind of spot start in your DFS lineups. I'm completely happy with that. If we're talking about, I'm not going to mess with any of the rest of them besides the big name guys. I'm not going to mess with like Cedric Wilson. I'm probably not going to mess with
not
LSC.
Yeah. No, Noah Brown and Cedric Wilson, just push them to the side. Yeah. They're on the shelf now because Gallup's back. And especially the more and more Gallup plays, like each week, he's going to continue to take more of the target share and all the snap usage away from them. So we are getting some questions here for season long. Do I trade Aaron Jones and Deontay Johnson for David Montgomery, Brandon Cooks? No. Since you already clinched the playoffs, look, keep Aaron Jones, man.
Yeah. Don't. Yeah, there's no need. If you were in a win now situation, since you already clinched the playoffs, you're actually giving your opponent a leg up there.
Yeah, and I think the concern here is just like David Montgomery at this point has just been better than Aaron Jones. So like,
I don't trust.
That's what well, it's not even I don't know. I don't trust him, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference, especially when we get later on in the year when Green Bay is trying to clinch like a number one seed. Aaron Jones is the top guy. It's just that I don't think they want to burn him throughout the season. But when we get later on in the season here, I think it's going to be a lot more Aaron Jones. And it's not going to be enough again. Deontay Johnson, to me, like if you look at the targets just with Mason Rudolph, he is unbelievable. He is so consistent. Each and every week, Deontay Johnson is going to be the top target getter for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he's going to be productive off of those targets. Like Deontay Johnson to me is one of the most not inconsistent. He is the most consistent wide receivers.
Yeah. He's not dropping passes anymore. Yeah, look at it this way. Do you want a number one wide running back and a number one wide receiver on two of the better offenses in the league? Or do you want the number one running back for the Chicago Bears and the number one wide receiver for the Texans? Because
game plans can completely blow up in their face, and if it does, Montgomery and Cooks are just rendered useless. When the game plan of getting it to Deontay Johnson, that has worked for the Steelers. It's going to and it no matter what, it doesn't go away. So all right, we actually have to go here. Stoweby, thank you for joining me. Always good talking to you. And thank you guys for all the questions as well. And thank you for joining the program. WinDailySports.com. Go sign up. WinDailySports.com. Get a gold membership. Also, if you go to WinDailySports.com, go see the Academy tab. And over on the right there, you will see the Discord chat and where you can sign up for it. So go over there and go sign up for the Discord chat because we'll be there all week giving you plays. I know Stoweby will be there even for Thursday night for showdowns and season long. But also, we'll have you for some NBA tonight as well, which is what we're going to go over next here. That's coming up next. NBA DFS pre-lock stream here at WinDailySports.